It really seemed as though Graham had only one goal in mind when he returned to Emmerdale: to win Rhona back. But just when everyone was expecting a reunion, he ended up in bed with Kim Tate instead. A twist so sudden that viewers barely had time to process it. At the start of the episode, Graham still believed Rhona had not truly let go of him. After the moment they shared the night before, he became even more convinced that she still felt the same way. That is why he went all the way to her house, determined to force the issue. Rhona, however, made it clear that she did not want him there and told him to leave. Before walking away, Graham pushed her to make one final choice: meet him at the bridge at 12:30, and if she did not come, he would take it as the end of everything between them. On the surface, Rhona was still trying to remain the loyal wife who wanted to give her whole heart to Marlon. But deep down, the fact that she chose to go to the meeting point proved that she was far from indifferent to Graham. The truth is, Rhona was torn between her personal feelings and her responsibility to the life she has now. Then reality pulled her back in the form of a call from the nursery. She had to pick up Ivy, the child she had accidentally forgotten earlier. By the time Vanessa arrived to take Ivy from her, almost all of Rhona's time had run out. She rushed to the bridge, but Graham had already gone. From Graham's point of view, that could only feel like rejection. And perhaps what made the next scene so shocking was not only that he turned to Kim, but how quickly he did it. Kim had just returned home after her confrontation with Chas and was clearly emotionally shaken. Graham arrived at exactly the moment when Kim was at her most vulnerable. The two of them have a long and deeply tangled history, so all it took was one emotional spark for the distance between them to collapse. Their kiss did not feel entirely random. It came across more like the release of feelings that had been building for too long, mixed with loneliness, pain, and the need to cling to someone who truly understands them. And yet, the more closely this plays out, the clearer it becomes that nothing about it is simple. There has always been a powerful pull between Graham and Kim, but their history is far too conflicted for this to seem like a mere moment of weakness. Not long ago, Graham was still visibly bitter toward Kim, even seeing her as the reason he had to fake his death after becoming her target. Because of that, this sudden rekindling feels more suspicious than romantic. Graham's mindset at this point is especially complicated. Rhona's failure to show up no doubt wounded his pride, but Graham has never seemed like the kind of man who acts purely on impulse. If anything, he appears to be the type who becomes colder and more calculating the more cornered he feels. Turning to Kim immediately after missing out with Rhona feels like a move with several layers: part emotional distraction, part test of reactions, and possibly even the opening step in a much larger plan. If this were only a fleeting emotional response, it would be hard to explain why Graham has recently endured attacks and hostility from both Kim and Joe, while maintaining such an unusual level of calm. Someone who can stay that patient under pressure is rarely weak. More often, it means they are waiting for the right moment. Kim, too, is not the kind of woman who gets swept away by one moment of vulnerability. The fact that she allowed Graham to come close suggests that some part of her still cares for him, or at the very least, that there are memories she has never fully buried. But this is also the kind of emotion most likely to lead to pain, because Kim is experienced enough to know that Graham is dangerous when he is keeping secrets. Later, when Kim admitted to Lydia that she had to keep her heart closed off from Graham, it became even clearer that she herself does not truly believe this connection will lead anywhere good. On the other side of the triangle, Joe has already begun to show obvious irritation at seeing Graham insert himself between him and Kim. That makes the situation even more significant, because if Graham is indeed trying to push Joe away from Kim, then this intimate moment may have been aimed at several targets at once. It does not just lower Kim's guard, it also directly disrupts the fragile balance between all three of them. That is why Graham ending up in bed with Kim should not be seen merely as a rebound after Rhona missed their meeting. It feels more like a sign that he is shifting into a different game altogether, one where real emotion exists but is entangled with strategy. Rhona may be the woman who still haunts Graham, But Kim may be the key to his true objective. And with Graham seemingly preparing to drive a wedge between Joe and Kim, this probably is not the climax at all, but only the beginning of a much messier manipulation still to come. This does not feel like a love story reigniting after time apart. It feels more like a fuse being lit at the exact moment every relationship around it is already beginning to crack. Rhona arrived one step too late, Kim opened her heart at the worst possible moment, and Graham is increasingly proving that he is not acting on emotion alone. Once he starts working his way deeply back into Kim's life, she will not be the only one affected. Joe and Rhona are unlikely to stay untouched either. What makes Graham truly unsettling is how easily he convinces everyone that everything is happening naturally, when in reality, there may have been calculation behind it all from the start. And if what is unfolding really is a game of chess, then that kiss with Kim was probably never the end goal, only the first move in a much bigger upheaval still to come.